All right, guys, we're back. Super excited. We've been trying to get this man in studio for several weeks, and he's finally changed his logistical planning to come by the Noncents Garage. We had to even kick out Ryan because this guest was so big. Ryan is remote from New Jersey, but in the Noncents Garage, welcome three-time Funny Car World Champion, Ron Capps.
Good to be here.
Man, thank you for coming in, buddy.
I'm calling my dad, man. I made the big time.
Officially
now.
I don't know about all that. I gave you a little tour through the shop a minute ago, and I got a good picture. I sent it to my old man. You were on his phone, like feet up, kicked up on his desk, having a good time. I know you've known my dad for a long time. We were just talking about racing, but you've got a big week of racing coming up you were telling me about.
Yeah. We just raced Richmond, where it was like 1,000 degrees. It's still crazy to be in a funny car, knowing the track temperature was like 145, and you got 13,000 horsepower at your right toe trying to get down the track. And so one of those weekends.
How do you pull the reins back on those horses?
That's the funny thing. As a driver, you're like, I'm going to mash the gas as quick and as hard as I can as I'm supposed to. But you're looking out at the track going, how is this going to stick?
And you just see like heat waves coming up.
Yeah, you do, literally. And so you're thinking, your brain wants to just ease into it, but you can't because the timers don't work right and there's a lot of stuff. So we ended up smoking the tires at the hit the quarterfinals and lost. But yeah, so anyway, got to come see you guys, and then going to Indy tonight. Gonna run a USAC midget with Smoke and a whole all-star race they're having Thursday night. They're bringing Thursday Night Thunder back at IRP on
one event or a couple different times.
They have a 3-race series that they're already doing, and then they threw this thing in there. So Smoke and I were together last week, and now I can say Tony and I are representing NHRA, which is kind of weird to say.
That is weird to say.
But yeah, I've never seen him that excited. Like, he's super pumped to get in a midget at IRP, which is I grew up watching him, when he won, the Triple Crown and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty pumped.
What was your first ever Top Fuel run? How many years ago?
It was 1995, my rookie year, Top Fuel. Driving for a guy named Roger Prim. Had no sponsor. Came from the Prim family, Prim, Nevada, outside Vegas. They had casinos, and he just did it for his fun, out of his pocket.
What's changed in Top Fuel drag racing in 30 years?
Oh, kind of the same with you guys. Safety, biggest, probably. I drove Top Fuel for a year and a half, and then I got the call, Don Perdome, like, hey kid, he's got his way about him. You want to drive a funny car for me? And I played with his Hot Wheels, built his models. So then I got in a funny car, and I'd driven a Top Fuel. I remember the first time they started the Top Fuel car after driving a lower class dragster. The engine's behind you. So like you and I were talking earlier, Clay Milliken, and I can give crap to dragster drivers because I've done it.
Yeah.
But it's behind you. And the first time I got in the funny car just to start it for Don Perdome.
Yeah.
They dropped the body and they shut it off. I said, I got to get out. Like, I was like
claustrophobic, holy.
Yeah, and then that engine now is like, it's where this table is in front of you.
And it's a 8-cylinder bomb.
It is, yeah. At that time, it was about 9,000 horsepower they were making. That was 1997. And there's that thing banging and popping in front of you is unreal. It's a gorilla that's mad, and and flames are coming out of the pipes, and it's just. And then you look down, the drive shaft, it's about that big around.
Right through your legs.
Right between your legs, yeah. So,
oh, my.
Yeah, it's not. But once you do it and you get going, you're like, not ever a dragster again. Like, that was boring, not having that in front of you.
A funny car's a real man's car.
Easy. Yeah. Easy. I used to, I've had Tony Schumacher. I've had all these great teammates throughout the years, Larry Dixon at Don Perdome's, and so I'm always careful because I start to give that, because you get asked by the media all the time, what's the difference? I go, well, to me anyway, it's like going on a trail ride. You're out with your family, you're on vacation, you're going to do a trail ride, whatever it is. That's a dragster. You try to stay on a bull for 8 seconds, that's a funny car. That's the difference. Like, you step on the gas of a dragster, not taking anything away, Clay, don't get mad at me. But you barely steer them. In fact, when I drove the dragster, I'd have one finger on the brake handle, and you could drive 1 or 2 fingers. You don't steer them much. You just kind of point it. You try to keep it from teeter-tottering because they're so long and skinny, and you don't want to make too big a move. The funny car, I mean, you hit the gas, and I've been driving 30 years in them, and you don't know left, right, kaboom. You know, it never does. It never just goes down the track. You're aiming on a straight run. You'll have people in the tower or watching TV. Man, that was a straight run, and you're in there like the end car, and you're going like this all the way down.
So what is the difference between an exceptional funny car driver and just like a decent one?
I would think, because I consistency. I'm not always still the quickest to leave the starting line, but my crew chiefs throughout the years could always rely on me doing the same thing. They can take me out of the equation because there's so many variables. I mean, if you stage the car and you take a little longer to do the burnout, nitromethane as a liquid is so much heavier than any other liquid. So you burn 2 more gallons. So when you race guys like John Force, you get this mental thing of how long people take, and he takes forever to stage. He's, you know,
That's the game, right?
Totally. But even before that, he takes a long time. So you want to wait longer to start it. You want to wait longer to stage. So you burn more fuel when you're going to run him.
Okay.
And maybe some other drivers. So, but just being a machine, Tony Schumacher always talked about it. You just take the equation out and do your job every time. It sounds easy, but trying to drive them straight, it sounds like that should be the easiest thing in the world, but it is still the hardest thing ever.
Man, I was sitting here thinking, not to circle back, but about you had a big shunt in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And thank God you're okay, because that was a big wreck. But the motor blew there, right?
Yeah. And that we weren't sure.
I'm wondering,
we weren't sure what it was. I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
In front of you, like with the motor being in front of you, have you ever gotten hit by like parts when they come out of there? What is that like?
Yeah, there's a video it's on YouTube. There's a blow up at Pomona, and it knocked me out. Back then ESPN did our coverage, and I had a in-car, and it blew up, knocked the body off, which isn't that abnormal to knock the body off a funny car once in a while. But my arms were up, and the wind was holding them up. But the safety device, NHRA, had shut the engine off, and the car coasted. And I remember waking up to a guy yelling at me, and it was a safety safari pulled up next to me as I was just coasting. But the helmet had pieces of the supercharger in slow motion. You can see hitting the helmet, which is not a good thing. But
I'd say not.
Cruz Pedregon years ago in McDonald's car had a piece of blower rotor come off, and there's a picture somebody has, and it hit his helmet and veered off, and it took a notch out of his helmet. He was lucky.
That was probably spinning what, 10,000 RPM?
Yeah. There's a great picture, and I don't know, you see it just in midair spinning.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ron, I can't imagine. You're already at 5 Gs on your body, right? And then that thing blows, and you, like you said, it's in front of you. You're encapsulated. What's the compression or the concussion like when it does blow the body off like that?
Yeah, it's different. Sometimes it doesn't. The concussion's not as much, and you feel like it was. Like I've been knocked out just from the concussion. And that car that day, I was along for the ride. And I remember thinking Force's accident, like it just started going the other lane. There was no speed taken off. Pieces of the body went into the parachutes, and it just all things wrong. Oh, no. And usually you're still in control. Like I've blown bodies off, and you're bouncing around. You feel like you're in a midget. You got no downforce, and you've done some dirt racing. I'm going to get this thing stopped, But that time it did a couple things and then went, and I went, oh, this is the one that's going to end my career right here. Like we'd already saw Force a year before, almost.
You had enough time to think about that?
Just before it hit. And here's the trippiest part. So many weird things. Like my daughter's, she works for a dentist. She just made me a mouthpiece I started wearing.
Okay.
Force broke a bunch of teeth when he hit, so I was glad that was there.
From like jaw misaligning?
Yeah, from the hit. Yeah. Whoa. So and then
how many guys run mouth? That's a great idea because you can like wrench down on that.
Well, every time I go to the dentist, he's like, "You grind your teeth." And I go, "I drive a funny car."
Yeah, I go 340 miles an hour, guy.
But he's like, "You're grinding your teeth down a lot." So that is one reason. But also, come to find out, I didn't know Forrest had broke his teeth. So that was a good thing. But what ended up happening, which is scary, and I got to look at it, was the header. When it hit, it spun and went right into the cockpit where my feet were. But I must have flinched and pulled my legs up, as you would, right? You're going to hit something.
Yeah.
And had my foot still been down there, it would have either taken it off or
paled it.
It would have been bad. And the safety guys brought me over after, I got better, and they pointed and showed me what happened. And I'd never seen it do that. So,
oh my God.
Yeah, that was a little scary. So a lot of things could have gotten a lot worse there.
So we talk about you like literally strapping yourself to a bomb. whether it's a funny car or a dragster, right? Like, does it give any indication, like, oh, this thing's tightening up? Bang!
Well, that's what I thought he was going with that question was a lot of times you're like, oh, there's a cylinder out. It's Sunday. It's race day. You've got to keep your foot on it. You got to get the round win, pedal it, whatever you got to do. And then there's times like that one where it's going along. We just won the Mission Foods race the day before on Saturday. We were qualified well. We were winning that round. Like, everything's going good. It's trucking down through there. And I'm like, this is going to be a good day. And then out of nowhere. So it's something, we don't know where it happened, but something went wrong inside. So there are times that you just have zero idea like that.
So a fellow Toyota driver, good friend of the show as well, wants to jump in here and talk to you. He had a big day yesterday as well. Let's get Mr. Chase Briscoe, winner from yesterday's Pocono, into the Noncents Garage. Chase!
What's up?
Hey, buddy. How about my friend Ron Capps here next to me? He wanted to talk to you. He's in studio hanging out.
I couldn't even see him. What's up, Ron?
Hey, how are
turn
you?
the camera. Moist, turn
cool.
the camera a little bit.
Nice job yesterday.
To show him.
You.
So
Appreciate
this way.
it.
Now, I heard
there we
Pocono's
go.
a good place to party afterwards. Is it still true, or has it kind of calmed down?
I don't know. I honestly, it was the longest post race I've ever been a part of in my life. I don't know what time the checkered flag flew, but I didn't even leave the track till like 10:15. It was a long one.
Man,
But yeah, they get rowdy up there, I feel like.
They were rowdy at the post race show. I'm glad you popped by. You actually don't really get a choice if you win to pop by the prime stage, so that's regardless. But it was really neat to talk to you before the race and how excited you were then to really put a bow on it and come by and toast to the fans last night was pretty cool. Is there any different feeling this morning relative to last night, or is all eyes on Atlanta just to try to go get some more points?
Yeah, no, it definitely feels different today. Yesterday it really never sunk in, truthfully. I was kind of in shock that I won, just because I fully was expecting to run out of fuel, and I didn't go into Sunday. I mean, I knew I would be good, right? Just you're in a Joe Gibbs racing car at Pocono, you're going to be pretty fast, but I didn't think I was going to be good enough to win per se. But once I got the lead, my car just kind of came to life. And then I obviously knew I was going to be in the mix and have a chance. But once I did the mistake on pit road, I figured that was the end of the day. And I'd kind of mentally prepared myself to get my butt chewed out on Monday. And it ended up working out that I didn't end up getting my butt chewed out today. So, yeah, it was definitely one that didn't sink in until I would say late last night. And even this morning when I woke up, and Brooks was super excited and he had all these balloons for me, and was jumping on me in bed. That's when it really, I would say, started to hit me.
I love that, and I think you might have been a little bit hard on yourself because I was trying to articulate in the post race before you jumped on is sure, you made a mistake and left early, but when you're down, you're leading the race, right? It's so easy to just be all gung ho because habit is to leave on the jack. Cut the jack, I'm rolling, right? So if there's not that on me, wait for fuel, on me, driver instinct just takes over, especially when you're all horned up, ready to rock and roll and lead some more of the race. I don't think that was that big of a mistake, but you did overcome it and save enough fuel to get to the end.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a mistake. James had told me, hey, you're going on me the whole time. I definitely was antsy because I did not want to lose control of the race. I knew if you came out in second, the odds of you winning the race were slim to none, just with how important clean air was. So I was doing everything I could to make sure I maximized, my time getting back onto the racetrack. And I almost stalled at the previous pit stop. I mean, all but stalled it. So on this pit stop, I was going to make sure that I was not going to stall it. So I had the thing. I mean, I was rod checking it in the pit box. I mean, it was probably 78,000 RPM. And I couldn't hear anything. And James, I think, keyed up, and he was saying, waiting on me. And as soon as I heard anything in my ear, I just went. And then I realized real quickly that was probably not the right decision when he was screaming at me as I was doing a burnout leaving. But I just instantly went into fuel save mode as soon as I pulled back onto the racetrack and, obviously was able to, save enough.
Hey, waiting on me sounds a lot like one lane when you're trying to race for a win. You've been there. We talked to you when you got this ride last year.
Yeah.
It's about 17 races in. You and James Small get your first win. James, very blunt and to the point. He's is he Australian or is it New Zealand? I know they get mad when you mix that up.
Don't call him a New Zealander.
Super fiery. How has it been? How has your tenure at Joe Gibbs been so far?
It's been a lot of fun. James is definitely fiery, just super intense individual, but he is so competitive and just wants to win more than truthfully anybody I've ever met in my life. So yeah, it was fun to honestly see James kind of let loose in a certain extent last night and just have some fun and yelling and just joking around. But it was a great win for him. It's been a couple of years since, the 19 team in general has even gotten victory lane. So to be able to, win was, I think, a huge sigh of relief for all of us. Obviously, myself going to a new race team, but, I think James and honestly the whole 19 team. There's a couple guys that was even their first cup wins. So it's always cool whenever you can get in victory lane, especially when it's somebody's first time or, when it's been a couple of years. It's a big deal to win these cup races. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, we got two Toyota guys here that are waving the banner. One on the NHRA side, one on the NASCAR side. What is it about Toyota and their dedication in motorsports, Ron, that really makes you feel like these guys are bought in?
First, I want to know, did he drink a beer out of a shoe? Isn't that like a thing they do?
That's not me.
For us, it was like F1 stuff as far as the support around everything. We've never seen anything in drag racing like the support with Toyota. Like, they're on the track giving updates, videos sent right away, just stuff. It elevated our drag race program.
Now, is this dumb question, or for the fans to know, is this friction tests of like active friction tests? Is this heat maps of the track? What is it that they evolved? Okay.
And they map it with wherever little bumps are. I mean, if the track has a small dip, like even a quarter of an inch dip somewhere,
yep.
Like Z-Max and some of these tracks, they have tunnels. It's great for the fans, but the track sags around the concrete tunnel, creates these undulations. And that is havoc on a nitro car trying to stick to the ground. So
do you put a little more downforce for that?
Yeah,
or like,
but
what
you
do
can
you
only go so much
Yep.
With our spoilers and the rules with NHRA. So a lot of it's the same. But for us, it's funny because the trailer that Toyota has, I could walk in there and see Chase and Denny and all them live action. It's crazy for me as a kid growing up drag racing to walk in there during the day. It's a race day for us and see all the data going on. And
so hang on a second. So your NHRA Toyota support truck is also running simulation.
Listen, Slugger Labby, we all know Slugger, right?
Oh yeah,
Slugger is we just talked him on the phone coming here, and he, he got really into this drag race stuff. But yeah, of course they are on top of everything going on there. We can see pit box stuff going on.
Wow,
I don't know. I'm sure I'm supposed to talk about that, but
we could cut that out. We can cut that out.
A lot of stuff I never saw. The ghost car stuff that you guys use now and all that. Yeah, it's
SMT.
But to answer your question, our Toyota guys are first in the morning.
Wants to know is, what does Gazoo mean? Yeah. We have no idea.
I got no clue what that means.
Came from. We got two of you here. Somebody explain it to me.
Go ahead.
It has
Chase.
something to do with the racing history, if I remember right.
Yeah, Gazoo's like a label, like you would get, high performance on whatever car company. Like Gazoo in Japan is like, it's the high performance.
Okay, like
deal.
give me the Gazoo.
Yeah, it's like,
and you're gonna be.
Give it the Gazoo.
You give it the old Gazoo.
It's like the SS's, in the old cars, or the whatever you want to put on.
I mean, your Camry yesterday, I laughed at the tweet you fired up this morning. It had the Gazoo, but it also had the hybrid because that thing stretched 7.5 miles of fuel.
Camrys, man.
Did you reach out and press the little leaf button, or what? When the last 20 laps?
Yeah. I was going down the straightaway and I'd hit the leaf.
Like, could you not try to shut that thing off one time into one, and they were like, "Stop doing that"?
Yeah, I did, and I got yelled at because I completely blew the corner, and I went slower by probably 4/10 that lap because the power steering goes off. As soon as you shut the thing off. Ooh. Yeah, it was a bad deal.
So, at what point in time, like even down the short chute in between 2 and 3 on the last lap, you're like, surely this thing's gonna run out like into 3. Like at one point in time, when you see the checker flag flying, like I'm gonna win this thing.
It definitely it is. So I've never been in that situation before where you're honestly like saving fuel, especially for a win. So like, two to go, three to go, two to go. Like they feel like an eternity, right? Like you're just waiting for this thing to stumble at any point. And then I take the white flag, and like you try to not get excited because you're just setting yourself up for the disappointment. Like it's coming. And I got through turn one. I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen. Getting into two or off of two, and I get through two. And I go into three, and it was like this really weird scenario where I was like, do I finally just drive it in deep instead of like not worrying about fuel and just try to get around as fast as I can and just hope that I build a big enough gap that if I do run out, maybe I'll make it. And I was like, no, I'm just going to save again, let Denny get a little bit closer on entry. But I was like, but if I run out off of three and he passes me, like I'm going to be so mad that I didn't run it in deeper. So it was weird. And then I finally came off of three, and you're still waiting for it to stumble. And once I got within a couple, 100 feet of the line, I knew at that point even if I ran out, I was going to win. But yeah, it was just weird inside the race car. Truthfully, like you're just waiting for this thing to stumble, and it's going to happen at some point, and it never did. So it was definitely a weird just range of emotions for me those last couple laps.
For the fans at home, there's a switch in the car. Do you guys not run a switch for your reserve pump?
Yeah, but it really doesn't, I feel like, do anything in the next.
Did you not? You didn't use it at all?
I flipped it on the last lap just as like, all right, if it does run out, maybe it'll give me a couple seconds. But yeah, I feel like in the next gen era, it just doesn't really do like what it did in the old car for whatever reason.
But right before you jumped on, Ron was telling us some stories about, in those things, the 13,000 horsepower bombs right in front of you. And then when it blows up, you get hit by like shards of valve covers and superchargers. Could you imagine getting hit in the head?
The drag racing guys are stallions in World of Ponies.
I'm going to use that. That's a shirt right there.
That is a shirt. Absolutely. Can you imagine getting hit in the head by like a 10,000 RPM spinning supercharger?
Yeah.
Well, no, you run sprint cars, so you're familiar with getting hit by like objects that aren't supposed to be around you. Have you ever got hit in the head with like a big rock or anything?
No, my dad was huge on running a rock screen. He would not let me race without a rock screen. It can still happen with a rock screen, but fortunately, I'd never had anything crazy really happen in a sprint car. I had the drive line and the rear end hit the bottom of my seat one time and dent the seat, which was pretty terrifying. But other than that, that's like the only bad thing I've had happen.
Man, Ron is running actually this weekend. Thursday Night Thunder. Is it this week? Night Thunder.
This Thursday night. Yeah.
Round? You got any advice for him?
Really? At IRP or where at?
Yeah, they're running an all-star midget race at IRP.
Dude,
so I can't wait.
You're brave. You really are a stallion.
And dumb, right?
He's like, I don't know if I'd do that. Did you ever run any asphalt stuff?
Honestly, I don't have any tips for you. I've never ran a pavement midget before. I've ran a lot of dirt midget stuff, but yeah, I've never ran a pavement midget. I don't know. Go as fast as you can under control. That's my advice.
And pull the belts tight.
And don't forget to turn left. There is a left turn involved.
Two of them.
We were funny enough, man. We saw you on Saturday night. We went to S&S Speedway. Your old man was there. The entire 19 team, 54 team was there. I can't tell you how impressed Carl was that you didn't dump him. He said you were so patient, just like showing your right front in there, and you're like, if I was me, I would have wrecked myself. He's like, that guy's got unbelievable car control. I said, Carl, you're just old anymore. That was a blast to see you and your old man. I guess Mikey, Carl's son, spun your dad out, and Carl in the moment didn't know that it was your dad, and he was like watching this thing play out, and he goes, this guy really knows what he's doing. I said, yeah. Chase Briscoe's old man is a wheel man. Like, you don't forget it. What did he have to say to you after the race?
The S&S Speedway deal, that is the greatest go-kart track in the country. I mean, it is unbelievable. I was telling it has new ownership. The guy just bought it 2 weeks ago. I was telling him, I was like, dude, this is an absolute hidden gem. But me and Carl I felt like one of the greatest races that nobody's ever going to get to see. I ran, literally an inch off of him for 20-something laps. And got by him at the end. And then obviously my dad got out there the one race and absolutely wore me out. Could not touch him.
Well, he had big left for a drive.
He's definitely got a weight advantage on me for sure. He definitely had way more forward drive. But yeah, he definitely put a hurting on me, which is just embarrassing, right? you always think you're better than your dad, and then when your dad goes out there at 50 something years old and just drives away from you, it's a little disheartening. But no, it was fun. Yesterday to be able to win the race and have him in there. But then just to do it in the way I did it was kind of funny. He talked about S&S Speedway. Actually, he goes, I've been telling you forever. You just slow down, you'd go faster. And yesterday, fuel saving was kind of the perfect, thing, right? I started slowing down. I just kept going faster and faster and faster. And it's the same as that little slick go-kart track. When you think you're going fast and you're sideways and the motor's screaming, you're going slower. But when you're going slower at S&S, you're actually going faster. So there's definitely a lesson to be learned there.
Don't let the secret get out, man, because you start winning these cup races. S&S, they won't even be able to accommodate all the people who are going to stop by there to try to figure out how to be a race car driver.
I told the owner, I said, dude, next year you have to do like a charity event or something with all the drivers, like have them come out here and race. Or I said, if nobody else will do it, I'll come out here and you can just have fans come out. And I'll race for 2 hours straight and just race people. It'd be a lot of fun.
You definitely would have carbon monoxide poisoning if you did that. You probably should step outside every now and then. Chase, I'm sure you have a busy day. I'm sure you got to roll with all the media and prepare for Atlanta. You got to do, but you were on the show earlier in the season before when telling us how this opportunity came about, and you just stressed, man, like this is my shot and I have to go win. So now you check this box. What's the focus on? What's the next box you have to check to feel like you are chinning the bar with this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I want to win multiple races. I mean, that's something that I've never been able to do in my cup career is win multiple races in a season. So that's something that is really important to me. But also making a championship run. I mean, I told my wife the other day, it was actually even earlier in the season. I said, this is like the first time in my life I've actually felt like I could be a cup champion. Like just because all the parts and pieces are there, like the car's definitely good enough. It all just comes down to execution. And, for me, this next, 10 weeks or whatever it is we have left in the regular season, it's just going to be all about gearing up for the playoffs. And as a race team, trying to do everything we can to just start executing at a higher level. It's something that we truthfully haven't been the greatest at. But now, hopefully, with a little bit more confidence and momentum, we can, start doing those things. And, definitely, we know that we have the car speed to be a championship contender. It just all comes down to those little details. And that's something that we need to kind of iron out over the course of this next 10 weeks.
All right, 3 questions. You've already answered them, but we're going to do a little refresher for the fans.
All right.
One car, one track, rest of your life.
Yeah, I think I've probably always said the same answer, but a wing sprint car at a Tri-State Speedway in Hopstad, Indiana.
It's not a box go-kart S&S Speedway?
That's for 2 on the list. I'm telling you, for smiles per mile, you're not going to beat S&S.
Off the charts miles per miles. Most embarrassing moment at the track?
Most embarrassing. When I won my first sprint car race, I fell off the top of the car. That was pretty embarrassing. Actually, I have a new most embarrassing. Every time I win, I don't have a hat on, and I'm bald as can be, and everybody roasts me on Twitter. So that's probably the most embarrassing.
Well, call Joey, man. He'll get
yeah, dude.
I honestly did. I went and I checked it out like over the off season. It wasn't for me. It's too much work. I'm just gonna shave it eventually.
Do it, bro. Cue balls.
That's a bold statement, though. Like when you just go from having not very much hair to straight cue ball instantly.
I mean, the beard too.
Keep them on the toes. Keep them on the toes. I tried to convince Joey to do it. Next Gen Joe be shed the Y, shed the hair, grow a mustache, and let it eat. It didn't really take any roots.
The problem is like I don't even know what the shape of my head looks like without hair. Like I might shave it all off and be like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing?
Then you can still wear a hat.
I'm scared.
So I don't really see a bad avenue for you to do that. I think we should get the Bic out. We should do it on the show. Come in studio next week and I'll get some shaving cream out. We'll let it eat.
Oh gosh.
And if I had the Men in Black pen and zapped all your memory, and you only got to keep one racing memory, what do you keep?
It can only be a racing memory?
No, I'll open it up. Whatever you want to keep.
I mean, the birth of my kids I would like to keep, and my wedding. But racing-wise, I would say Southern 500.
That was a dog win.
That was a dog win.
Yeah,
All right,
that
bro.
was a cool one.
Any parting words, Ron, for Toyota teammate?
No, man. No.
Okay, there you have
Keep it up.
Chase Briscoe, thanks for popping by,
appreciate it.
stacking pennies. Good luck. And I'm going to be banging doors with you here this week, so you better tighten the belts.
I know. Well, hopefully we're not banging doors. Hopefully we're not doing that. But
Shaking and
hopefully
baking.
we're pushing bumpers or something.
That's right. All right, buddy. Have a good day. Congratulations again.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, back to our normally scheduled program, Ron. Thanks for letting our guest pop by.
That was cool.
You're like a co-host
Man.
for our day.
I didn't see, we were racing, but did he make a victory? Did the car make it to the
He had enough
victory?
for a burnout.
Wow.
Yep.
You would have been proud, buddy. You would
Yeah.
have been proud. He got the third or fourth gear.
He's gone.
Oh, he's
I think
coming
it's
back.
I think
He
second
third
or
or fourth
third.
gear, but you graded it. It was second on
It-
your
it
burnout
was
list
second.
on the prime.
Yeah.
right?
Well, the scoreboards that we do post race. Have you seen what we've been doing for our prime broadcast? So we do what we call a burnout board, and we give like whiteboards, and you like grade it like you're grading a gymnastic
Live
routine.
or-
Yeah.
right.
And then the average is where you stack up on this board. So the first time we introduced this panel-wide voting system, Dale went and gave it an 11 to SVG, so it instantly obviously bumped his score up. So SVG at Mexico last week was the top. Chase slotted in at second this week. So that was fun. We kind of dialed that in a little bit. Is there any – I'm always curious, too, of like the games that you mentioned. You kind of alluded to it the other a couple minutes ago, of like the games like a John Force would kind of play. Like, what is bad drag racing etiquette?
Hanging somebody out. Because we light the pre-stage lights. There's a pre-stage at the very top.
Yep.
And then you kind of flip your fuel pump on. You do all the stuff you've got to
Hang
do.
on.
Make sure.
So I'll pause you there for a second. So I think that majority of our fans probably don't even know what that is. So walk me through like a first-time drag racer.
So there's beams across, and that's the Christmas tree lights. So when you block the first beam, there's a tiny light, and on the Christmas trees it says pre-stage.
Yep.
So once each car lights you don't have to do first or last, but both cars are in pre-stage. That means you're both ready. Then you got your stuff in your cockpit. You got to make your fuel, make sure it's all the way on, make sure your helmet is shut and your air is on, because you got 2 minutes of air. And if you're in a fire accident, which I've been upside down and trapped, you got to make sure that's shut and the air manually you can flip it on, and just kind of check everything. And then you have a handbrake. So I sit like a sprint car. You sit up, but you have a handbrake, you have a big gas pedal and a big clutch pedal, and that's it. And you have a lever for a fuel. So once you're pre-staged, usually it's 1001, 1002 is what you're taught, because you pull the fuel all the way on. You let your foot off the clutch. So when you're at a track and you hear that RPM change, that's us letting our foot off the clutch. And the clutches are set up so they just barely touch with your foot off, and you can hold the car and it's still running. And then this all brake. So now you're inching in. You have about 7 inches.
Of your stage
to get
window.
to the stage light. And once one car has lit the stage light, the other car has 7 or 8 seconds to light theirs, or they're red lit out. They can't wait too long. But a lot of drivers wait a long time. And in a nitro car, once your foot's off the clutch, you're committed.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, there's blinders in between the two where I can't see when you stage.
No, you can see.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's blinders now that keep the sun off the big yellows that flash. And that's when we leave. We leave on the yellows, not the green. If you leave on green, you're really late.
So you're releasing, rolling into.
So I've got the brake handle. Once my foot's off the clutch, you're committed. Now that clutch is starting to get hot, but it's barely. And they call it tug. So when and they set this specific number of RPM drop called tug. So we set it in the pit area, and it's about 2,000 RPM, and you'll hear it, and that's us letting our foot off the clutch, and you're holding the car. Everything's on your brake, and your foot's you're ready like a snake to just bam.
And you have 13,000 horsepower at your hand.
At your toe, just ready. I mean, it's the world's flying apart as soon as you hit the gas. So once you roll in, then you inch it in with the brake, and you light the stage light in your lane. The other car has either done that already or right there with you, generally, right around there. John Forrest notoriously was,
last.
For years, we thought his crew chief back in the day, Austin Coyle, when they won all those races, actually would get on the radio and tell him when the other car staged, and then he would go in. And for a while, when I was a rookie and I was coming up first few years, you just, you bowed to the guys in front of you.
Yep.
You just went and did your thing, and he was going to come in after you, but you didn't get up and cause trouble. So as I got going, then I started waiting and making him wait sometimes, and it would be a battle. But all it does is burn fuel, and the clutches get hotter.
Yep.
So once cars are both staged, then it can be a variable of like 0.8 of a second or 1.5 or whatever, that flash of the big yellows.
Yep.
And as soon as you see those, you hit the gas and let go of the brake exact same time.
Okay.
You don't want to hit the gas first and let go of the brake,
Yep.
or vice versa, even a fraction of a second. That, to your earlier question, what's the best drivers? The ones that can do that every time. So not only leave on time, but do that, and it's meticulous, because a crew chief can see a cylinder temperature a little bit higher than the last run if you did something different.
Real. Oh,
So
dude, that makes
besides
me
force,
fired up.
there etiquette-wise, there's some drivers that just go up there to be a, you know what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say that on here?
You can say that on there.
I got a dumb question. Has there ever been? I'll say it. Has there ever been like a measuring contest where people like run out of fuel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
guys that have
real.
battled force for years. I keep bringing him up because really he's the guy that did it, and he waited. And years ago, he would do it so his clutch wouldn't get hot. If you rolled in last, your clutch, theoretically, you just started that
Okay.
process of it getting hot.
Okay.
So it's a tune-up thing.
I see.
And he was an umpteenth world champion, so you just, if you...
So if you go in last, right, the benefit for you is you're pulling your foot off the clutch later.
Yeah.
In the box shorter from the time you can
Yeah.
go.
Now let's take a step further. Kenny Bernstein, when he retired and then came back to funny car, remember he had the Monster
Yeah.
Energy funny car. I found out, because he was drilling us, and he was like 50-something years old at the time, and I mean leaving on everybody. He would roll in, clutch in, and he would wait. When it was his time, he
All
would
three.
wait and let his clutch off. But he would almost do it right before the light came down. So first or last, wherever he staged, he would let his clutch off when the other guy's light was lit. So he kept his clutch cooler. I don't know. I tried it, man, and it was hard to do.
A lot of stuff going
A
on.
lot of stuff going on. And then you end up beating yourself.
How do you practice cut lights?
I got a little cockpit at home. I don't use it as much as I should. We have these little Christmas tree. You've seen them before, little handhelds. It's with a thumb.
Yep.
And sportsman racers, they leave with their thumb, the lower classes, and they're up on the RPM and like pro stock, and boom, away you go. Us, we don't. So it's more of a practice thing. I probably should practice more, but you can't emulate the helmet, the smell, the eyes burning, guys
the
being
stimulation.
game. Yeah, there's all that other factor. It's like running iRacing like I did the other day. Before the SRX race, I jumped on and ran Eldora in something that wasn't an SRX car, but you just can't emulate everything else that's going on.
The pucker factor.
Yeah, that too.
So they don't have a, like you said, this Toyota doesn't have like a simulation type program where you guys try different things, different tire pressures, different clutch packages. Like they're not to that point like we are with the Cup cars yet.
Kind of. Like NHRA limited the testing to keep prices down and costs down on cars, much like they did with you guys. But the difference is, and people ask, how can you practice? Well, it costs, to make one run, it's 10-ish grand. That's if nothing goes wrong, nothing breaks, just to make a run. Nitromethane's $40 a gallon.
And then you're putting rod
gallon.
bearings and valve springs.
One run on a piston and rod. It's ridiculous. But so I can only practice when the team wants to test stuff, like you were talking, Brian.
Yeah.
It is, if they want to test some clutch discs, we'll stay on a Monday. If they want to test some levers in the clutch, they want to test some this or that, they'll stay and test. And then I sort of get to practice something I want to try in the car. Otherwise, if we're testing, then I got to be on my game to be the driver that does the same every time, so then I can't try things. So it's a give and take. But, yeah.
I think nitromethane should be worth way more money, because between you and Clay and John Force, and you just talked about Kenny Bernstein come back when he was 50, it's the fountain of youth, buddy.
Yeah.
You guys, nitromethane, John Daly would say nicotine and caffeine equals protein. Nitromethane and G-force equals longevity in your cells.
I believe so.
Because you guys age like fine wine there on the NHRA circuit.
Yeah. I think it's just the bridge of the neurons up there that really makes you sharp.
Yeah.
Something else.
Maybe.
It might be. There's Ron, there's like a little bit of a not narrative, but there's like a little bit of an argument on social media these days. It's getting a little bit of traction in terms of NASCAR playoffs and like how easy people forget of the same ones that are complaining about somebody winning the season championship with 2 races to go are the same ones that are fighting for this battle that's never going to be won on social media to say that we need to go back to a 36 race schedule. Found it interesting that NHRA is introducing their own style of playoffs. Is it this year? Is this year one?
With the 4 wide, you mean?
No, like the playoffs top 10 in points.
Oh, I don't know if they're changing. Yeah. I think it is top 10.
Yeah. Why do you think NHRA is introducing that?
Well, it's funny. Our first year, our countdown, they call it countdown the championship, is like the chase. We had it where it narrowed down. It was 6 races, I think. It went 2 and knocked off 2 people. Then it went another couple. By the time you got to Pomona, or actually Vegas and Pomona, it was down to 2.
Yep.
And then they went away from that, and then they just did a straight up top 12 or top 10 in the playoffs. It's a 6-race playoff from September, and away you go. And then NASCAR went to that elimination thing later on. So people hated it, and then all of a sudden we saw NASCAR do it, and people are, well, maybe it's pretty good if they're doing it. So I don't know what the best way. Now they implemented if a driver or a team runs every single race in NHRA, they're guaranteed in. So then people are complaining on, the internet that it's just, you just bought your way in as a spot.
They're going to complain about anything these days.
I've been on both sides. I've been leading the points and they reset it, and you're like, damn it. Like, this might have been the year I would have just ran like the old days. John Forrest would be clinching championships
halfway through the year.
Yeah, ridiculous early. And it was boring for a lot of people. So I've seen both sides of it. I've been on the other side where I was 8th, and you're like, oh, thank God they reset the points. Now we got a chance,
My opinion's this. Nobody asked, but I'm going to give it. Anytime you can introduce storylines, and it brings excitement to whatever sport that is, because if it's a straight-up linear season with no reset, it almost takes away the majority of the storylines to talk about. That's in my opinion. Now I think there's also interesting.
Now that he's a broadcaster, that's the way.
No, I've always been team playoffs.
The maturation of being racer and broadcaster. I love the way it's going.
I've never been team one season long to the end of the championship. I'm with you. Yeah, I want to ramp up the intensity and the pressure and execute. Right, you build up in the course of a NASCAR season, 26 races of the regular season. You iron out all your weaknesses of your team to then go execute 3 races at a time. You can't have a weakness if you want to continue to progress to the championship. I could sit here and argue this take all day from people that want it back, but the sport's not going backwards, and I could also tell you this. Broadcast partners aren't going backwards because those guys, they want all the storylines you can create, whether they're real or fabricated.
Yep.
So
listen, if you're a competitor and you don't want more opportunities like that, then you are a pony in a world of stallions, as one man said. Because if you want, as a competitor, you want that smoke. Like, you want it. Hey, re-rack it. Let's go. A fresh opportunity every week. I feel like, and Ron, I don't know if you agree, but when it does get reset, I like that. Obviously, if you're the guy that's leading and it gets reset, you can look at it like a detriment, but it's the same for everybody.
Ron, I want to get also your opinion. I want you to do a bit of a sales pitch, because I'm just going to assume for a second that, like, I'm going to say half of the people who listen to this show on a weekly basis probably have never been to an NHRA race. What and why should they look up wherever they're coming next around their area and go see Top Fuel dragsters and funny cars run?
Well, I grew up on the sport. Here's what I tell people when I go, when they really don't know. I tell them it's like going to a Metallica concert, and between every song you go back and you sit with the band for 10 minutes, because every NHRA race, every ticket's a pit pass. So you literally can go anywhere you want. You walk right up to John Forrest's, mine, Tony Stewart's, and you can have a conversation, take a picture, take your kids and get a picture with the hero drivers and watch these cars, the team members, tear them apart and put them back together from 5 feet away in like 70 minutes and have it ready to start again. So as a gearhead, you can't get any closer than that. and we have these VIP areas that are in NHRA. They're next to the pit area. So our Napa people come in, they got a chef cooking, they get a goodie bag, and they sit down and they watch the races, but they come in the pit area and watch the teams tear it apart. Because to me, on-track stuff, I still love it, right? But I love our sport, the in-between, because watching these teams do that, it's poetry in motion. There's times that we're being pushed by TV and it's 25 minutes and my guys have it back together after a run, coming back at 15,000 degrees, tear it apart, put it together, and have it ready to start up. That's crazy. You can't get your oil changed, not even close to that in your car. So I tell people the interaction, it's like going to concert or going to a baseball game and going in the dugout with a team and going back out and watching the game.
It's way more exciting than baseball.
Yeah. Chase Elliott's like going in his bus and hanging out with him during a rain out and going back out in the grandstands. It's the interaction is like no other.
Yeah, I mean, NASCAR is very accessible to the drivers, but NHRA is on a whole nother level to be able to go meet these guys in fire suits, watching them tear down and rebuild a 13,000 horsepower freaking bomb in between every run. And yes,
and then they start it, and as a fan you stand there and you can get that. There's super fans that will stand with their gas mask, old school, like the old war movies, and they just stand at the back and people scatter and they're just like, yeah, I love it.
And then also just a sensation of, even in the grandstands, when the first Top Fuel, you could, like, when you park in the parking lot and you're walking up and you hear like a practice run or something fire off, you're like, oh my goodness, it sounds like Godzilla's over there breathing hot fire. And then you go, and if you get the chance to stand like on the line when two of these things or four of those things here at Charlotte rifle off, it's like a sledgehammer hits you in the chest, dude.
Your organs move. You can feel like your organs flapping around in there.
Is it
in a good way?
Is it mitigated in the car because you're in between the headers?
You feel it at the hit of the throttle. It's like I was saying before. It's like the world's flying apart. And then here's the strangest thing. I might have been telling Ryan when we were out there. I was telling you earlier about the G-forces going up. The strangest thing, and I had to get used to it the first time I made a Top Fuel ride, was the car will get quieter the faster you go, which your brain can't sort of comprehend that, right? We're used to race cars. You're getting louder, your RPMs get up, you're going faster, everything's correlating. It's like watching that first space movie you watched, Battlestar Galactica, for you that remember that, or when they hit hyperspace, it's like where you're looking is what you're going to see, and everything else is a blur except right where you're looking. So you got to make sure you're looking in the right spot.
What's the right spot?
You got to pick sometimes like down at the sand trap or a pole or tree. And then when the clutch comes in and the car starts accelerating, it gets quieter as you start picking up. And you go, at that point, you're going like a 0 to 100 in less than 1 second from a standing stop. But then you go from 200 feet to the finish line, and if you go 338 or 339, imagine the speed that picks up, and the car gets quieter as it does it. It's a freakish thing to do. Even today, as many runs as I've made, it's still the weirdest sensation.
How often, if you make 100 runs, right, assuming they're all like good runs, you don't smoke the tires and everything stays how it's supposed to go, do you know the ones that are like, holy moly, that was really good?
When you hit the chutes, and I've got to hit them usually 3 or 4 sometimes.
Based off the pull.
Yeah, when it pops, you got the head and neck device, the tethers, how hard they hit, or it flings. Sometimes it'll fling my feet up and my arms, and when they hit, and then you got to bring them back down. Like
oh yeah, that was a good one.
Like we went 338 like 4 years ago at Reading, Pennsylvania race, and I just remember when the chutes hit, it just flung me inside the car, and it took me a minute like I was an astronaut coming back to space.
Like, holy I go 500 miles an hour.
yeah. So that's when you know is really how hard the chutes hit.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Better have your substraps right for that. Your nuts end up in your stomach.
That is the truth.
Dumb question. We go to a lot of different tracks, and we talk about altitude. We were talking a lot about altitude last week in Mexico City, and we go to tracks for us that are more wild cards than others. Is there a certain track, because to the layman fan like myself, it just all looks the same, but there's so much going in the altitude, clutch, fuel. Is there a track that you guys go to that it's like anybody can win at, that's more variable than any other place?
The hotter summer track, like we were just at Richmond, it was very, very hot. Denver, we used to race at. We're going back there, but they're building a new track, and that was, Mile High Nationals, and it was literally, so for a crew chief to make a car run up there and go 300 miles per hour was amazing in itself. A lot of blow-ups. If one thing's off a little bit at sea level, you can get away with it. It's just going to burn a piston. If it's off at Mile High Nationals, it's going to be a bomb, and the body's going to be off it. It's going to be bad. So that's probably the most extreme. But other than that, there's a variation, maybe 2,000 feet, maybe, of different tracks we go to now. But that's all that adaptation that the crew chief, the good ones, can change things. And once the car goes together and the head gaskets are picked for the compression ratio, then they have to make quick decisions in the staging lanes. And that's why you see crew chiefs running back to the cars, is they got to change a blower overdrive or change some timers or change a clutch weight. They'll take some off.
Based off of the track heat or friction?
They get, like Toyota sends us updates, but they have a little pager that'll go off like every minute and tell them like 1 degree of temperature, or this is the big thing I tell people, it's not humidity change, it's pieces of particles of water in per piece of air. Yep. So it takes this humidity thing, and if one change is made there, it's huge to the crew chief. So they're running back and changing things on the engine that they can change last minute. And then super last minute, tire pressure and wheelie bar height is probably the 2 last minute things. Because we hit the gas the same every time.
Yeah.
Like I said before, if I wanted to ease into it on a very hot track, it messes everything up. Yep. So I have to hit it just as hard and just as quick as I normally do.
So if the wheelie bar is low, like real quick to get to it, is that a lockdown track?
It's a great question, because years ago, growing up, the wheelie bar was to keep a car from popping wheelie too high, right?
Yeah.
It was to hold it from whatever. And now it's a tool. When the car leaves, it bounces on the wheelie bar, and it actually, the wheelie bar, when it hits, it keeps the tire square. And we're talking fractions of an inch, because it could be too much or too less from smoking the tires or letting it squat too much, and then it goes into tire shake.
Yep.
So they actually use it as a tool now. Burnouts. My early days, I could do big old long John Force burnouts, and now we got to do these little short ones that our crew chiefs tell us, for whatever reason, keep the tires cooler. It's not as fun as it used to be. All the cool stuff they keep taking away.
Yeah, nothing is.
How much has 4 wides changed the game?
The first year I was asked here, I was a Z-Max, and they're like, what is it in your world like? I go, it's if you guys made Bristol a figure 8. That's how big a weirdness it was for us. Like, if you just said, okay, we're going figure 8 at Bristol, what are you going to do? Like, for us, it was like, okay, you're adding 2 more lanes, and now the Christmas tree is going to have 4 lights in each lane, and now you got 3 people like John Forrest to worry about that's not going to stage. And the very first run I made at Z-Max, Forrest got out and was wanting to fight everybody at the other end of the track. And he's like, damn it, who in the didn't stage their car? And it was him. He forgot what lane he was in and his light, and it almost red lit him. So, and I've done it myself, but I'll never forget, like, he was so hot. And so it creates this whole, to me, it's like gaming. And so it's the hand-eye coordination. So I love it. I love everything about it, but you'd be surprised. I have my crew chief remind me when he walks away from the car. He usually does whatever he does, and I go, tell me what lane. Yeah, I want to know what lane I'm in before you walk away, because literally there's times you go, which one's me again?
Yeah, you're trying to look over like,
yeah.
I mean, you can't see anything in there.
No, you're back in the trunk. And
oh, man.
Yeah, so it creates, so this season, the playoffs going to be 4 wide. It's going to take it up a notch. It's already hair raising and a lot of pressure that you're in the playoffs and you can't have a bad race, and now it's going to be 4 wide. So
4 wides at night too, quality.
Yeah.
Oh, fire me up.
So if you're home, you got to come out. We're going to stick you guys in the car. If you're home. I know he probably travels ahead of you.
Whatever is on my schedule, I just canceled it.
All right. Yeah, we'll do a warm-up for each of you guys sitting that thing.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And then you go down and tell Clay what it's like to sit with her.
Yeah, I had
right in front of you.
Yeah, I had some power between my legs, Clay.
Oh, is that Slugger?
Oh,
looks like Slugger.
No, it looks like Matt Hagen.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Who's that?
But that's a tool to check the temperature. If you watch the old days, the guys would go out with their tennis shoes and they see how much squish there is of the rubber. And that's their tool of a crew chief going, okay, I got to take some clutch off right now. They have
It's got a little more technical than that, I would
imagine.
imagine.
They set that thing on the ground. It does this little thing, and then they radio back to our crew chief like, the grip is 300, and on whatever scale that is, they go, okay, well, it's pretty good.
Man, I could sit here and talk all day, dude. This is freaking awesome. But I know you got a flight to catch because you're going to Indy this week. How can fans watch that midget race?
That's going to be on Flow Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I think.
Awesome.
And Lucas Oil, Indianapolis Raceway Park, they're announcing the other drivers this week, like as the days go on. So
how many guys?
I don't even know. I don't know. They wouldn't even tell us.
10 cars?
Yeah, they wouldn't even tell. I didn't know Brad Knopfsinger was doing it, which is cool. He's an old school sprint car guy, so he's going to be fun to get it on with. Yeah, and Michael Lewis, great open wheel racer. I heard maybe Kenny Wallace, and I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but because it's a benefit for Irish, with Hoosier, so it's kind of a thank you thing for him, and so I'm excited to see who it's going to be.
Well, I'm excited to watch. Now I'm definitely going to tune in to Flow on Thursday night.
Pray for me.
I will. Yeah,
because it did not go good on
I need
iRacing.
Ron Cap's midget shirt. I need you to. Where do you have to finish to make a shirt for this occasion?
I don't know. A midget shirt, that would take a whole different level for me.
No, is that like the size or like actually what's on the front of the shirt?
Come on, what's on the front of the shirt?
Arrow pointing down.
You're gonna get canceled here.
Yeah. Hey, it's your show.
Hey, so Ron, before you go,
do I get a hat first of all?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I really want the hat you're wearing too. Maybe I can swap you.
I'll send you one.
Okay.
I stole this from Paul Mecca. We
right.
made that car I ran, the Dom Prudhomme tribute car, the Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
Coolest car ever.
Yeah.
I ran it at Indy. Snake flew out, was there, and we won the race. Like, it was the most legendary.
Was there any diecast that made?
Yes.
I'll
send. Yeah.
That'll be one the kids aren't allowed to use for sure too. Would love to have that in the backdrop. So 3 questions, like you heard me ask Chase. This doesn't lock you into the dragster either. You've driven a ton of different cars. If you had to pick one type of car and one racetrack to race at the rest of your life, what do you pick?
Oh man, I ran the Prelude all those years, so Eldora that's a manhood checker.
Yeah,
that place will test every bit of your courage. It was pretty cool in the late model. I would think it's got to be pretty awesome in a wingless sprint car, like old school guys up by the wall. Like,
oh my God,
I know.
Did you ever see Kyle Larson go for a ride in that wingless?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was.
I haven't driven one, and not at that track, but I would have to say if I could do it, because you never know. So it'd keep you excited if that was the one thing you get to do every time.
It would keep you scared every day when you wanted to jump in that thing. Yeah. All right, that's a good answer. That's the first time we've had that one. You heard the question, what's your most embarrassing moment at the racetrack?
Wow. Ironically, the first Prelude, I was way in over my head, trying to stay up with all the hitters. I'm trying to hang on to this thing, and it's rough, and I blew a booger out, and I couldn't get to it because it didn't have a caution out, and it was on my lip, and I couldn't. It was just every lap I'm at Jimmy Johnson,
and you know you just got a booger hanging out.
And so when I got in, I couldn't get. I thought I got it with my glove, and I took my helmet off, and they were talking to me a big one, and it just hung there. So probably the most embarrassing.
Higgy's definitely gonna find that. There's nothing that could hide from old Higgy. Oh man! So a little bit of context on the Prelude for those who don't know. Back probably 7, 8, 10 years ago, Tony Stewart owns Eldora. The biggest race that they have there is the Dream. It's on it's a week-long deal. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Pays $100,000 to win. Back for like 2 or 3 years, they would ask guys to let celebrities drive their cars. Majority of them were Cup drivers, but they had Travis Pastrana. They'd had guys like you and
Robbie Gordon,
Cruz Pedregon, Robbie Gordon.
Yeah.
Like, it was this really, really cool race that they put together for a couple of years. So that's the Prelude. Super dirt late models. So yeah,
that was crazy awesome.
Stallions against ponies, if you will.
Back then, every NASCAR driver, to see him smiling when they hated doing any media, and Tony was great. No media, you just raced, and so you're walking around, you're seeing every driver out there laughing, talking about the car. It was just a great night.
It was cool. It's always cool to see those guys like out of their element, but still in some sort of racing environment. Last question: if I had the Men in Black pen and zapped all of your racing memories, and you only got to keep one, what do you keep?
Ooh. Probably the win, driving the Snakes car, trying to forget what I was doing in the car, seeing a tinge of yellow as I'm rolling up the stage, and then the big screen was at the end of the track, and they got Snake. It was because it took me back to when I drove for him. But I was like, I'm driving the Hot Wheels car, the legendary 50 years ago. He won that race, and they're showing him at the start line behind my car. Like, it was a surreal moment to I'd never want to forget.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Winter Circle, he was teared up, had a cigar. Next morning, best day ever. Like, to hear Don Perdome say that, it's like, best day ever. Like, you've had some pretty good best days. So pretty cool.
That's a damn cool moment. Ron, I really do appreciate you coming in town for this. Welcome back anytime. My schedule just opened up in September for the Four Whites because I'm going to be there in Charlotte when you're in town. Sign our wall before you leave. Good luck on Thursday. Pull the belts tight. We'll be watching on Flow.
You got it. Thanks,
Ladies
guys.
and gentlemen, Ron Capps on Second Pennies.